Hello friends and welcome to another video. Today I want to share with you one of the biggest mistakes I see new composers to stock libraries make and to music licensing in general. Now, selecting the right instrument for the genre is by far one of the biggest mistakes I see, because if you don't get the right instrument for the genre that you're writing, then the mixing and the arrangement and everything else is just gonna fall to pieces, and you're going to struggle a lot to get the right sound for the genre. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that if you're working, for example, on a rock track, then rock music typically has electric guitars, right? And it usually has some type of gain sound and distortion. So once you select the right instrument for the genre, then everything else should fall in place, and it will be easier for you to compose the music that you're aiming for. Now, I am writing a lo-fi track right now. I just literally opened Logic and I started to work on a track, and it's still early days for this track. But I want to show you how I work, and I like to compose music on a loop. If you've been following me, you know that I like to compose on a loop. I locked myself on a 4-bar loop. In this case, it's a 4-bar loop. And I just select the right instrument for the genre, and then I go for the chord progression. What is the chord progression? But for this, I'm selecting a guitar for this lo-fi track. So I'm thinking right away that the track has to be in the right ballpark in the way of sound and even production with just one instrument. And that's very hard to replicate, or very hard to do if you don't have the right approach to it when it comes down to selecting the right instrument. So let me play it to you very quickly so you can see what I mean by that. Okay, so you see very quickly that is a chord progression that is very jazzy in nature, which is something that I like to do earlier on in the process of writing music. Not only I'm selecting the right instrument, okay, with the right sound, yes, right out of the box, it has to be the right sound, okay? Now, I have some treatment here for this guitar, right? I have this plug-in, just gives it a little bit of texture, if you will. And I have the Valhalla Supermassive as well to just give it a little bit of that lo-fi type of sound, okay? But right from the get-go, it sounds already lo-fi without having any other instrument. Now, I'm still in the experimental stage of composition. I'm just playing around with some instrument. I don't even have a melody or a motif for this track. But that's it, okay? So I have the chord progression, I have the main instrument, which is the guitar, and I'm pretty happy with this result, okay? The second instrument that I wanted to add immediately, especially for this type of genre, and I'm thinking about, is that I want some drums, okay? So that's the second instrument that is, in my opinion, very important in lo-fi music. So I want to know exactly with what beat am I working with. A lot of composers work in different ways. You know, you can probably start with a beat, right? With what type of drums are you going to be using specifically for this type of music, and then you add the chord progression. I mean, there's no right way to do it or wrong way to do it. This is just the way I started this particular composition, by the way. Okay, it could have started the other way around, just with the drums, and that will spark an idea to just put the chord progression afterwards. But I started with these drums, okay, and it's a drum loop, and this is what it sounds with the guitar. So I'm already in lo-fi territory, if you will. I'm already working in that genre with just two instruments. Now, I apply this philosophy or this mindset to any genre for that matter. If this was a cinematic track, I will go for a piano kind of motif, right? Like a chord progression, or just to create the scene. And then I will the second instrument will be some cellos or some violin, some strings of some sort, just to create that foundation for that track. And from there, you can just start to build your track. If it was a rock track, for example, it will be an electric guitar, and then select the tone. Okay, like how much distortion do I want, how much gain, what's going to be the tone of the guitar sound, so I know what I'm going to be working with. And most likely will be the drums as well, because it's a very important aspect of rock music. If it was a corporate track, it will most likely be some chord progressions, piano chord progressions, and then it will be some plugged type of guitar or palm muted guitar, you know, the classic corporate delayed, 8-dotted delay that we hear right off the gate, okay? Like it has to sound corporate just with 2 instruments. So from this point on, it's just a matter of having fun. I'm already in the genre and I'm already building the track as I go downwards. As you can see, I have a loop. I played around with a little bit of some different sounds. This echo loop, for example, this is from Apple Loop, so it's not something that I played. And I'm still experimenting with some atmosphere, but this is what it sounds like with the next instrument. Right, so I'm thinking I want to create an atmosphere. I'm going for some type of texture, aesthetics, if you will. That's what I want to create with this, and I'm thinking in terms of images now. You know, it's a rainy day or whatever, it's a winter or it's cold, that kind of vibes, and we're drinking coffee. So I'm trying to think in images as well as I am listening to the track. Again, remember that this is a fresh idea. This has, I'm not thinking about how this track is going to evolve, but I'm just going for the genre. I'm really focusing on the instruments here. And I'm keeping it in the guitar as a main instrument because I'm a guitar player, you know. But I will definitely try to come up with a melody that it will most likely be a piano, just to balance it out. I'm not sure how I'm going to develop this. I'm thinking about a bass after this. I'm not sure if this bass works really well. I'm not happy with it. But this is an Apple loop as well. I'm just trying to be as quick as possible as I'm creating this track, but most likely I will record the bass myself. I will probably play it to keep that organic, loose swing and feeling that lo-fi music has, but this is what it sounds like altogether. Just to give me an idea of what I'm going to go for. Like, I mean, this is a perfect example. The bass, I'm certainly going to take that bass away. I mean, but from this point on, as I'm doing this on the fly, I will probably eliminate this part and try to work with different notes, right? Obviously in bar 3 there's like a note missing, but you know, I'm not sure about this instrument. And this is where we can easily get stuck, right? If I don't want to stay too long in the bass. For example, that bass, I will definitely erase it. That's the bass I just added as an Apple, from the Apple loop here in Logic, and I just whack it in there just to have a quick idea for what bass I'm going for. But I won't spend too much time on that. I will probably just delete that and then plug in my bass. I have a bass for all of my compositions. I wouldn't write it in Logic. I'll probably play the bass so I can, because it's a nice drum loop. You know, again, this is a drum loop which is free. You can get it from, I got this drum loop from here, Essential Lo-Fi Drums pattern from Landar. You know, so you can just use them from there. Just get it for free. Just open an account and download it. So that's the drum loop. So because it's a nice drum loop, I will definitely try to keep it as organic as possible. And this is it. I'm going to be stacking instrument after instrument. Once I select the bass, which I'm the next instrument that I'm working with, I will go for a melody, and then I will try to probably create a different track for some type of atmosphere, like maybe some rain or more vinyl sounds in the background. But that's it. You can see very quickly that with just 4 or 5 tracks, you will have a track in the lo-fi genre. Now, obviously, lo-fi is a very simple genre to compose. Well, let me rephrase that again. It's not an easy genre to compose because of the simplicity, but you don't need much. And I believe that for every genre, it's the same thing. I mean, it's very easy for me to get carried away even with a lo-fi track and just start adding different elements of textures and whatnot, and some rain sounds in the background, and then some whatever, you know. It's very easy to get carried away. I mean, there's so much in there. in the computer for me to select that I have to really restrain myself, okay, and just work with the minimal approach when it comes down to writing music, because it already sounds lo-fi. I don't need to do much from this point on. So the hard work has already been done. If you're new to this, if you're new to music licensing and you would like to get started, don't forget to download my free guide, updated for 2024. Link in the description. I have a list of libraries as well, which are the libraries where I'm going to be uploading this particular track. And you can hear different music that I have composed if you're curious as well. You can find me on different libraries by the alias Diva Production Music. And you can just go and check out my tracks there if you want to, on Pond 5, Audio Jungle, Melody Loops, Motion Elements, Motion Array, and many others. So thank you so much for all the love and support. I'll see you in another video, my friend.